Nice shirt.
My name is Rupert Meghnot from Virtual Entrepreneur and Burnout Game Ventures, and I'm here to provide you with my annual State of Entrepreneurship in Orlando. So, right key. So, what am I going to learn you this morning? Okay, we're going to cover four things. First, I'm going to talk about the good stuff, right? The stuff that we're breaking our arms, patting ourselves on the back for, okay? And rightfully so. Then the not so good stuff are basically the things that we might not know, okay? What they don't teach us in school. I'm going to offer some suggestions for growth, and that will lead into a new business service organization, business providing services to businesses, and you know, and what our mission is and so forth. So I hope I pass the audition. So let's start out with the good stuff. Orlando has a massive, and I mean massive, talent pool. Okay, I'm talking about 500,000 college students within 125 miles. Okay, just in Orange County alone, there's over 150,000 of them. That's more. That's enough to handle every tech job, pretty much every job that we have in the area. Okay, and certainly enough to handle and provide the new tools and techniques to all the startups in our community. Okay, so while there's that many here, just think a quarter of them are the ones that are graduating every year as a rule of thumb. So if there's another city in America that has a deeper, broader talent pool, and ours is pretty tech savvy, I'd like to know about it. The other thing is we are consistently rated as one of the top 1 to 5 cities in the country for startups. Okay, last April, Wallet Hub, and sorry about that, but Wallet Hub ranked us #1. Okay, and they look at things like environment, they look at infrastructure, they look at cost of doing business, they look at, you know, supply chain, all these various different factors. Okay, and we'd still come out #1. Okay, what number are we?
#1.
Okay, making sure you're awake. So that's fantastic, right? And depending, and out of the 21 surveys that have been done over the last 8 years, we were between 1 and 5, depending on who they asked, but still, right? Out of how many cities in the US? Okay. Another, yeah, more than 1. Another great thing about the area is that there's over 100 business service organizations in this town. And again, they're businesses that service other businesses. Okay. And there's it's not working.
Click on the slide. That always displays.
Okay. So these are just the basics, right? The ones that we know more than anybody else. But we've got Rotary, we've got about a dozen different chambers. This wonderful business incubation. Got studio, have these organizations here, and these organizations are here to service us. Okay, and one of the big problems that we have as entrepreneurs is we don't, right? So all these organizations here are waiting for us to come in, right? They're waiting for us. Okay, they just need to be in the face. They just need to know that these organizations exist. Okay, so
Don't click
what
on
was that?
That was the wrong button.
I love technology.
You can tell.
There we go.
Yeah. So in 2001, just a little backstory. I was selected to give a pitch to the Florida Venture Florida Venture Summit or whatever forum. And I get up there on stage. I'm in front of, there were like 500 or so investors there. And the screen is blank. But I gave my presentation anyway, and I actually won and, you know, got funding. So, but years later, it's like Mac, PC, come on, we can coexist and we all get along. So 100+ business support organizations. Let me tell you about 2 other things. Orlando is a world center in 12 different tech sectors. Okay. And I mean, when I say a world center, I mean, the rest of the world comes to Orlando, literally, right, to work in these 12 different tech sectors. Now, we are the world center for humanities modeling and simulation, right? And, you know, by far, I mean, the next closest one, we have 180 companies in modeling and simulation here. The next closest one is Singapore with like a third of that, okay? But we're also a world center in these other 11 tech sectors, from an automated driving, gaming, entertainment tech, electro-optics, etc. Okay. And you know, people need to understand this and know this. And if Disney got a whiff of how many families come there because they're visiting and interacting with the tech companies in our ecosystem, I think they changed their tune a little bit, right? But in any case, again, I don't know of any other cities in the United States that can boast this. Okay. And then let's talk about money, right? So who knows the state that has the most money of all 50 states?
Unknown caller.
I didn't mean it.
It's a president.
So it's California. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So people say, well, why wouldn't it New York? Right? Because it's California. But the thing is number 2 is Florida. Florida has more money in it than New York, which isn't it the financial capital of the human race? Right? And not only that, but just looking at Central Florida, a simple survey of the OBJ Book of Lists shows that there's $64.5 billion sitting in banks in Central Florida. And what does it do in banks? Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Don't tell me we don't have money in Central Florida. We just don't have access to it. Okay. And so that's a 2-way street. So the people who own it need to get with the program, right? And the people who don't have it and need it need to have more imagination, more creativity, and more boldness to get it. Right? It's just like anything else. All you gotta do is ask. Okay. So these are 5 awesome things that help drive our startup ecosystem here in Orlando. Okay. So let me talk about the stuff that people don't really talk about. Okay. There is still, and has been since 9/11, right? 9/11, I don't know if y'all remember, but it yanked the rug out from a startup ecosystem that was doing 350 million a year in venture capital. Okay. In today's dollars, that's really good money, right? And we haven't recovered since, right? We stopped collaborating. Now there are some recent collaborative efforts, like the high tech corridor has got their different clusters. There's 6 or 8 different clusters of tech sectors. Orlando Economic Partnership is working on some things. The UCF Business Incubation Program has been doing some things, but they're still very limited, right? And the reason why is because they don't have a choice, right? Because there's too many stakeholders, too many cooks in the soup, and they direct them and they tell them where to go with things. Okay. But there's nothing that's very comprehensive, right? So there's a little lack of collaboration. They're not talking to each other. Okay. So these are the 6 primary stakeholder groups in our startup ecosystem, right? And I got to tell you, startups are not being efficiently serviced by all 6 groups, including ourselves. Okay. Government, we're the redheaded stepchild. Okay. Startups are the redheaded stepchild when it comes to government. Government, local, city, county, state governments, they give hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in incentives and other things to the big companies, when it's the small businesses and startups that generate 50% of the jobs and 13 times the intellectual property. Okay. Virtually all the growth in our state comes from startups. Okay. Give me $300 million like they did with Blue Origin, and I'm going to help create a million entrepreneurs and millionaires. Okay. And they're just creating 7,500 jobs. Okay. It's great. I love what they're doing. I applaud it. It's just that with $64.5 billion just in the counties in Central Florida, seriously, right? Schools and talent. We all know that the schools need to teach more wisdom instead of just knowledge. Okay. That's what we're here for, right? Tech sectors, all those different tech sectors, in 1995, I started and was running the Central Florida Council for High Technology, and we're putting out a directory every year of high tech companies. And back then we had 3,006. Okay. You can imagine how many we have now, right? But the thing is they're not communicating with each other. They're not working with each other. I mean, can you imagine what would happen if our advanced computing sector got together, made a driving sector? You think we could come up with some pretty cool ideas with that, right? That comes from collaboration. Capital, 1.9% of that $64.5 billion goes to SBA loans in the Central Florida area. That's 99 million, but it's 1.5%. Seriously, people. If we boosted it up to 2% even, or please 5%, right? Now we're starting to make some inroads. But this area is still far too risk averse. There's a profound lack of boldness in this town. And it's been frustrating. Been very frustrating. Then you've got the business service organizations, because honestly, and I love Starter Studio and the UCF Business Incubation System and all the others in this town, the accelerators and the incubators. They're doing a fantastic job, and I support them 110%. Okay. What I have to tell you is that look at incubators and the companies that still exist that have been through their program 2 years later, that number is and the UCF incubator I think is 6%, right? Y Combinator, right? Y Combinator, which walks on water, is 7%. I don't know about y'all, but if I got 7% on my midterm exams, I wouldn't have my degrees. Okay. So Y Combinator with a 93% failure rate walks on water. And meanwhile, the world is what it is. Okay. And then entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, we are too comfortable with assumptions. We know everything. Right. If I had $1 every time an entrepreneur founder told me that they had no competition. Right? My next game would be on the market right now. And not only that, but they don't plan. They don't plan sufficiently. They just don't. They think they look at this, oh, don't even get me strategize. Say right now, whenever I see it, I rip it to shreds. Okay. Because that's a whole nother presentation. Okay. But it does not help a startup build a foundation upon which they can be sustainable and grow. Okay. So lack of collaboration. The other thing is lack of startup jobs. So bizjournals.com a few years ago, and I've got the clipping, but I've moved a couple times since and I haven't been able to find it. I'm talking to Susan Lundeen, and it's like they did a study of all 106 cities that they have a presence. And they looked at all these parameters and everything like that. So back then, I think it was in 2012, maybe, or 15. Orlando came in number 2 in the country for startup jobs out of 106. That's 2 from the top. For startup jobs, we came at 2 from the bottom. 105 out of 106 for startup jobs. This is not a good metric. In fact, I don't give a crap how much money we raise for startups in this town, because that doesn't say anything about the startups, except that they're lucky enough to get money. Only 0.02% of companies who look for money get it. Okay. So if you want to break your arm patting yourself on the back for raising money for your company, that's great. And we applaud you and we want you to succeed. It's just that, are you going to be around in 2 years? When CV Insights does a massive study of over 100 companies that have received $2 to $5 million in venture capital funding, and 42% of them fail still because there's no market for their product or service, there's something totally wrong with the way we do things. Okay. Lack of startup jobs. We've got to help these companies be more sustainable, right? And create these jobs that can help our entire system grow. And then let's face it, we have a lot of leaders in this town and a lot of people that are trying to do their best to help us and to help everyone. Okay. And I applaud them and I thank them, all the time. It's just that let me back up. Tampa and Miami and a number of other cities like Austin and Seattle and Nashville are eating our lunch. And okay, but just look at Tampa and Miami. Okay, so Tampa has somebody called okay. He owns the Lightning and a few other sports teams and other things. And then Miami's got Mayor Salza and the Knight Foundation. Those organizations either attracted or pumped in over $100 million into their startup ecosystems. And now we're seeing the result. Okay. We got $64.5 billion sitting in banks. Not one person is stepping up and saying, here's a check. Let's get to it. Right. And, it's just, we have the talent here. We have the people here. Right. We have people that can step up. And, we need people with vision. We need people with a plan. And we need people that just will get things done. Right. And I haven't seen that in the past 20 years. Okay. Like I said, I love what's going on with all the BSOs that I had up on the screen earlier. Orlando Economic Partnership, the High Tech Corridor, Starter Studio, UCF, etc. It's just that we don't have like an entrepreneurial czar who's coordinating and operating and getting all these people to work. Okay. Allow me to provide some suggestions. So with leadership, again, just gotta find the right person. And if that with the right resources. But the thing is if that person doesn't have the right resources, give it to them, right? This man or this woman can come up with the right vision, then this person can really lead us forward and get us to where we want to go. Okay. We should not let the lack of resources hinder the growth of Central Florida. We need to optimize collaboration. Right now, for the past 20 years or so, actually longer than that, everybody considers themselves, oh, we're a hub. They say we're a hub. We're a hub of this, we're a hub of that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. As a lifelong auto enthusiast, I'll tell you, a hub is worthless. All it does is spin. You can put a hamster in it, it doesn't matter. Okay. But let me ask you something. What happens when you put teeth on that hub? Now it becomes a gear, right? That's what collaboration does. It puts teeth on hubs. Now it's a gear. When you put two gears together, you have a machine. And the more gears that you have in that machine, the stronger that machine becomes. Do you see what I'm talking about with regards to collaboration? This just getting us to talk to each other and develop programs, but execute these programs. This can really make things jump for Orlando. But obviously we need a plan. Okay. And I've been talking about this. I did a keynote for the Orlando IX back in 2015, talking about setting up a plan, and nothing happened. And I tried. But we need a plan. And this is not just a plan for just tech or just a plan for government or for the streets or whatever. It's for the whole ecosystem. Okay. And we don't have that, and we never have, except Glenda Hood did back in the late 90s. So that's that. So this basically led me in my limit of frustration and my cohort there, VJ, to start a group called Orlandopreneur, right? And I'm just going to talk briefly about it. So VJ and I are both entrepreneurs. We've been entrepreneurs most of our lives. We're innovators. Here we are winning an award from the Orlando Magic for innovation that we did for them. And I won the Florida Entertainment Innovator of the Year last year at Synapse. And I've been a.
I'm done. You gotta go backwards. Go backwards.
And I've taught at UCF in Full Sail for 12 years and been a part of the ecosystem since 1992. Okay. I've been going for 20 years. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're a BSO to empower startup ecosystems via increased collaboration and self-education, right? And we need to set an example, okay? So we are gathering sponsors that are going to help give us the resources so that we can enact our plan, okay? Our mission, turn hubs into gears, encourage leaders to provide greater value and collaboration, optimize success for startups. We've got to start generating jobs from startups, okay? And we're going to do that by being in your face, okay? Entrepreneurs are lazy. I know, right? We're lazy. We need to get in front of their face and say, you know, did you know that the Orlando Library or Orange County Library System, shout out to Jane, you know, they have a ridiculous wealth of information that we can use as entrepreneurs to help our businesses, and nobody uses it, right? Well, very precious few people use it. We want to be in people's faces. So we're going to be doing multiple different events, right, to help self-educate. We do a networking event once a month, a happy hour type thing to bring people into the community. Then we're also, we had our first one last month, and in 2 weeks of organic advertising or marketing with no advertising, we had over 200 people show up. It was a lot of fun. Increase the ecosystem. leader collaboration, improve startup investability. Our startups to generate jobs, they need that capital, but they're not going to get that capital if they're not worth investing. Okay, and investors need to, and that's assuming, of course, the investors understand and know what it means to be an investable company, all right? And the viability of local investment efforts, and we want to be a player. Okay. So these are the sponsors: Florida CFO, Spot Fitness, Build Up Apps, SIBO Cloud, Pet Neighbor, and then of course VJ and my organizations. We've got other sponsors that are lining up. We would love it if y'all would help sponsor us. We're very cost effective because we know we're all entrepreneurs. And that's basically all I wanted to say today.
Thank you very much. We don't have time for questions, but
You answer everything.
you're up. Fix the screen. We're now going to hear from Donna Haynes of the Legal Aid Society.
Don't sue me for taking too long.
Which button is the events?
The right to keep.
Okay, with liberty and justice for all. When you pledge to the flag, do you mean it? Do you believe those words that you recite? Or are you merely parroting them back at a sporting event? Equal access to justice is my passion. I always wondered why there are different rules for different people. Imagine two disabled kids, both needing individual education plans to succeed. Why should one be provided services while the other is not because it's a foster child? Why should two kids sit side by side in a lunchroom, one with lunch and one without? Why can't a rich kid and a foster kid both have a bike? The Legal Aid Society provides free legal help and gives bikes to foster kids. Sometimes it gets a kid to a part-time job, and other times it de-stresses them from the horrific insult that happened to them. One year, Fresh Point donated cases and cases of fruit. This little girl came up to me and asked if she could have some fruit, and I proceeded to fill a backpack for her with apples, red, yellow, and green, and she burst into tears. I couldn't figure out why a kid was crying over apples. Frankly, they were cookies. When she said, "You gave me all the apple colors." I then filled up a second bag with the cookies and the bananas, because anyone that's that excited about fruit deserves to go home with a bunch of it. Later that day, this young man, came and he picked out a bike, rode it all around, and then brought it back to me. He thanked me for the ride. He didn't understand he could keep it. These are the littlest and youngest clients that we have the privilege to represent. I often ask, why should two 72-year-olds who are at the end of life experience it so differently? One is happy and the other is living in turmoil. Our client, Marilyn, defaulted on her mortgage because she was dying of cancer and could no longer work. A bank paid over $14,000 to a law firm to foreclose on her home, with only 3 $679 payments left. We worked out a payment plan so she could stay in her home and, frankly, die in her bed. Now, don't get me wrong. She owed the bank money. I get it. But she paid it back. She paid the money back at $127 a month. It became the humane, affordable solution. Before Marilyn passed, she called me and joked and said, thank goodness for legal aid, that the pavement under the I-4 is sloped. And she said, I don't really want to die. We're rolling out under the I-4 overpass. Every time I pass I-4, I think about Marilyn. Louise, the part-time worker, a convenience store, who stands on her feet from 4 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, cleans the store, and then she heads home for $11 an hour. Her Social Security and wages pay rent, cell, electric, and car, and gas. She goes to the food bank and uses food stamps. She eats inexpensively damaged or day-old food available from her employer, and her credit cards were used for prescriptions. When her rent went up from $900 to $1,479, she could no longer afford the credit card payments. A judgment was entered, and 25% of her salary was now garnished every payday. Now in Florida, some types of income, including Social Security benefits, workers' comp benefits, disability, veterans, retirement benefits, they're exempt from garnishment. But the meager pittance of her salary was not in that protected group. Our attorney called the creditor's attorney and explained they are going to make a senior widow homeless, which wouldn't make for a very good press story. But if forced, we would contact the media partners and share how the creditor had threatened a long-term custody who had egregiously paid 28% high interest rate for a year. Maybe they felt bad for the client, knowing that she was not just a credit card number, or maybe it was the media threat, but they dissolved the writ of garnishment, albeit humanely. I've often wondered where our clients find the strength to muddle through these legal situations. Carl, a veteran, a disabled veteran, was quietly living in a mobile home park with his accessibility dog. The dog helped with mobility issues. Now, in Florida, hot weather could cause a dog to jump in a pool, especially if their little paws are burning on the hot cement. Should a dog jumping in a pool one time be an excuse to evict someone? Bernie, the golden retriever, needed an obedience training. We get it. And the America with Disability Acts, we know that that's essential. But even with this incident, Carl had the right to remain in his mobile home. No. The dog was not a valid reason to evict him. I suspect the landlord just wanted him to move out, as tenants often do when they don't know their rights. In this case, the landlord backed down. Carl remained in the mobile home park and eventually moved out of state. Veterans, they hold a place in my heart. On June 28, 2005, 19 U.S. military died in Kumar, Afghanistan. One of them was my relative, Michael Murphy, who was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. A movie, The Lone Survivor, was written about him. And his death is the drive behind my wanting legal aid to provide services to veterans. Homeless veterans are everywhere in Orange County. At 6:40 one morning, I arrived at work in the park next to the stairs. I slammed my car door. I woke up the veteran who was asleep under the stairs. I grabbed my mace, lunch, and purse, and using my best New York saunter, I looked into his eyes as he looked at my lunch, and I did what any one of you would have done. I passed him my sandwich and banana, and I started chatting. Why would you sleep under my stairs? There's a shelter around the block. He answered that his wallet had been stolen and you can't sleep in a shelter without ID. What's your story anyway? He explained he suffered from PTSD and returned from the war to his family, changed from the man he was when he left. At night, he was afraid and would scream out and thrash in bed. One night, he hit his wife, believing she had a gun and was going to hurt him. He cried as he shared the stories. He never meant to hit his wife. He simply did not know where he was. He knew he needed help. I told him to come into the office at 8:30, and I directed him to the front of the line because I knew Jay Mobley, our attorney and veteran himself, would be on duty. Within 7 minutes, Attorney Jay retrieved a copy of his veteran's his driver's license, certified it, and with the letter, our veteran was able to share, sleep, and eat in the shelter. Another referral was made to the VA, where he was provided housing, mental health counseling, medication, a cell phone, and clean clothes. A third referral was sent to Veterans Court and another to the Pro Se Clinic so he could find out about supervised safe visitation. Years later, a gentleman stopped me at 6:40 in the morning and thanked me. He said that we had treated him with respect and he had worried that I got in trouble for pushing him to the front of the line. I said, don't worry about it. It was just a banana. Apparently, it was so much more than a banana to him. 1 in 4 people that you meet in the street in Orlando are eligible for our services. No one wakes up saying, I want to be poor today. No one wants to worry about where their next meal is coming from. No one chooses to be uneducated, homeless, or mentally ill. That's just the roll of the dice, people. Our legal aid is the answer to these problems. Our mighty staff of 46, including 16 lawyers and 5,167 attorney and volunteers, we change these lives. The cases we handle are family law with child custody and domestic violence, human trafficking, yes, it's rampant here, consumer, housing, wrongful eviction, and foreclosure. We're a VITA tax clinic site. We're the guardian ad litem foster child program. We provide free legal services to all these folks. And we also have a volunteer advocates for children. We are the bike ferries that give away new and gently loved bikes. We are the veteran clinics and senior and community outreach with 158 clinics a year. We are a force to reckon with and a nonprofit charity seeking donations of time, talent, and treasure. I want to close by asking you to do this. Every time you recite the Pledge of Allegiance and say those words with liberty and justice for all, I want you to remember that the Legal Aid Society provides justice for all. Please visit our website. I'm Donna Haynes. Thank you. $6.4 minutes.
Well, you did have a hiccup there.
Hey, hey.
2 seconds, but that hiccup in your technique.
Yeah.
So question,
Phenomenal.
Sure.
Hey, Donna.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good.
Do you get your bicycles from Rusty's Recycle up in Longwood?
Yes, we do. We partner with so many groups in the community. So if you want to network or do things with the Central Florida Association of Women Lawyers, you would come down to our bike event and help give out bikes that Rusty's group refurbish. Some kids get new bikes, some kids get gently loved, but foster kids and frankly, lower income kids, we don't turn anybody away for a bike, get bikes. So we may work at Legal Aid, but we also volunteer on weekends two or three times a year to make sure that kids have bikes. Because like I said, the child that you saw, Taj, he rode his bike to McDonald's.
I got a follow-up question. Do they get a lock and a helmet?
Yes, we do. We give out locks and helmets too.
Good.
We also have fitters there so that only certified fitters can.
Good.
Thank you for reading my website. Anybody else? Yeah.
How do companies like us get a hold of it?
Okay. So there's 6,142 attorneys in town, and they're broken down by different groups. So I'm the person who's the stringer. So I can market you into groups such as the Gay and Lesbian Bar Association, the Christian Bar Association, the Puerto Rican Bar Association, the African American Bar Association, the Asian American Bar Association. You get my point. There's 17 of them. I go to every single chicken lunch that I can go to. If somebody wants to network or work with lawyers, we can get you out in front of attorneys. So we have a domino effect. It's a TV station. It's on Orange TV and Spectrum. And for $500, you get your sponsored by, and you have the Legal Aid Society attorneys up talking with the county commissioner, talking about housing and homeless issues. And so if you call Spectrum and you try to get an ad for yourself, it's certainly more than $500. It's a tax write-off. You're doing good and getting your name out while helping us. We have all different ways. So call me for coffee, but the bike event needs water. So you take your business card and you tape it to the card. You tape the card to the bottle, and folks, clients and lawyers and judges are now seeing that you're giving out or paying for the water for a bike event. The Orange County Bar Association, which is our sister corporation, I'm the nonprofit, they're the for-profit. They have a 5K that benefits us once a year. It's out in Baldwin Park. It brings out 700 attorneys. Not a bad way to sign up and volunteer. Wear your logo shirt and meet 700 lawyers. Lots of different ways. There's the Association of Legal Administrators. Those are the women or men who administer the offices. So if you are selling whatever your stitch is, whatever your product or service is, this is a group you want to get in front of. You're paying for your lunch if you go with me. I work for a charity, but I'll take you to those groups and introduce you to folks. Well, I'll send you like the Pulse Perkins Bar Association right now, which is the African American Bar Association in town. I'm a member on that, and they're looking for $500 sponsors to help with a judicial event. Well, folks, not a bad event to get out, have a table, and meet the movers and shakers in the legal community. Yes.
I have a question, Donna, just because your presentation is phenomenal. First off, great stories.
Thank you. I'll give you money on the way out.
But
I don't know about anyone else in the room. For me, it sounds like from what you're saying and what I heard Rupert say, that you literally have the same problem, but just in two different ways. So it's like he's Orlando entrepreneur and you're living in society, and you're like, we have all these resources, we're not collaborating.
Well, we are collaborating.
Well, yeah.
I'm the stringer that'll get you in the rooms. I'm Jim Alfat and I, he sells legal services. We share, refer, and meet once a week. Wow. Have coffee, have a Zoom call. Call me when we're in the car and say, tell me more about your program and I'll tell you more about mine. And I'll go, all right, you can do this, 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 and this. Sometimes it will cost money. Yes. Sometimes it will be free. Absolutely. If you go and you're a good, if you can promote and discuss what you do well, I'm going to bring it back. If you wear ripped jeans to an event with lawyers with a bunch of suits on, not a good match. We'll find another one for you. And maybe the bike event where you can wear your jeans. Nothing personal. I'm just saying there's different groups that I need to get people out in front of. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the presentation. It's really incredible. Can you tell me why is it important for you personally?
Why is it important for me?
Personally,
All right.
what's your name?
The short answer. In 1961, a girl was told she'd get married and have children. She was not given the ability to go to college. I went to college at night. I was told I could not be a lawyer. I took 17 years of law classes at night. I believe that access to justice is for everyone, not just those that can afford an attorney. A 4-year-old that's been raped, there is nobody who's going to pay for those legal services. An immigrant who's here, who a knife has been held to her throat and helps report and helps get someone arrested because they murdered someone, is now allowed to stay in the United States if they help the United States. Provide a homeless person with a free lawyer. I mean, banks, we don't stall for the purpose of not paying back money. Our clients that we help owe the money. We get it. Landlords deserve to get paid too. We get it. But let's do it humanely so that, like I said, Marilyn Caswell could pay $127 a month. I can argue that both ways. She really paid her mortgage over 30 years of paying. Those 3 left payments could have been waived, and they paid $14,000 to file the suit. Cost benefit analysis? Well, I don't know. We're dogs with a bone. That veteran who wasn't, this dog jumped in the pool. Are you kidding me? You're going to evict him because a dog jumped in the pool? The real story behind that was rents have gone up from $900 down to $17, $21, $22. He had a long-term lease. They wanted him out because they could rent that mobile home for more. All that being said, you're also losing people in the community every day who pay taxes and are good citizens and clean up after their dogs and send Fido, if you will, back to obedience class. It didn't happen again. It was a one-time thing. It was 112 out or something that day on the pavement. Yes, ma'am.
So what kind of volunteer opportunities, and is there anything that you would look for in business leaders? There are other things, obviously there's sponsorship opportunities, but what about the other side of it? Is there other things that you look for that business leaders can help?
So there's smart things to do too. So the volunteer advocate for children, you check on a child once a month and you give a report to an attorney who then gives it to the judge. Right? You're checking in on a child who is raped or who has been beat or abused. Are you going to get a background screening before you are approved? Absolutely. Why is that important? Well, I'm not going to put a pedophile with a child that's been raped. It's just not going to, you got to think these things through. But the attorney you're sitting next to, should you decide to go to court, may be a Glenn Adams from Holland and Knight or Paul San Giovanni from Morgan and Morgan, who you want to do business with. And now you have the person's cell number and you're chatting with them once a month. Along the way, someone's going to say, hey, what do you do for a living? No. We have lunchtime trainings. It's $500. You get your name put at the beginning and at the end, and you get 4 minutes to speak, and we target it directly to what your service is. We can help each other. We can help each other in smart ways and change society and change the world. There's a lot that we can do. So with that, I am,
We're out of time, but we have one more question from me.
Oh.
What can we as a community do for you?
how can we as a community come out to the 5K, walk with your shirts on, 1 million cup shirts, so people know who you are. Volunteer as a volunteer advocate for children. Donate bottles of water, donate bags of chocolate bars, so that when we pick up a kid on the side of the street, you know, we can slide them granola bars or something. When I have 17 upcoming events for veterans, we send it to the group so that you can get it out to people in the community. When you come across someone who needs free legal services, don't give them my personal cell number. Give them the intake line, because I answer my phone. I'm a fundraiser. I answer my phone morning and night. There are so many ways that I would sit down with each one of you and figure out what works for you, because it's going to be obviously different in everyone's business. My cell phone number is ready for it. Let me see. Take it there. Let's go. I put on makeup for you guys today.
Have your number already.
It's 772-812-5175. And permission, I'd like to send a flyer, one flyer, maybe once or twice a year, and just ask that you share it. And I would like to meet with you individually to figure out how I can help you, because we do work with Rollins and provide free lawyers for some businesses. I am a connector of sorts with the Association of Legal Administrators and the other groups. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nice to do.
Hey, Eric, real quick, just so you guys know, I've known Donna for more than 10 years. She is a great resource, and it'll be well worth your time to sit down with her and grab a cup of coffee. Okay.
All right, great, thank you, nice plug. All right, next week, we're gonna hear from Shauna Jackson of Dharma's Calling. Every time I see the company name, that puts Clash in my head.
I think I want us.
We also have room for one more speaker, so if you would like to get on the agenda for next week or any other week, go to 1millioncups.com and then click the presentation button at the top of the screen. You apply, Josh will approve the presentation, and then you will schedule yourself for the week that you want. Tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Serendipity Labs is having their TNT launch party, trying new things. Deja Robinson's here. Deja, do you have something to tell us about it?
Yep. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Great presentation for all of our presenters. My name is Deja Robinson and Serendipity Labs Orlando. Trying new things, or TNT as I like to call it, is our attempt to provide a home for the entrepreneurial community that we have here. That's everybody in this room and all of the people working right now, the stay-at-home moms, anybody willing to try new things and be a little more creative and innovative and build a really strong community. And so we are launching this group with a big party tomorrow evening at Serendipity Labs. It's going to start at 5:30 p.m. We have a packed night full of activities and some really cool surprises. You will get a side of the traditional networking, and you'll also get 6 months worth of planning on how we can really create an exceptional experience for everyone in attendance. And if you'd like to know a little bit more about TNT and what the group, how it is structured, please come and find me after this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. If you're online, you can download the chat. If you are here and want a copy of the Zoom chat, because there's a lot of stuff going on, just email me at eric.deckers@gmail, ERIK, Deckers@gmail, and I'll send it to you. Join us on Meetup. Connect with somebody you met here today and invite them for coffee or for lunch. Hang out with them, get to know them better. And with that, I will see you in 167 hours. Thank you.
I'm still working on it. Yeah. A lot of stuff that we get done and, we're lining up locations.
So that.
Just getting started. Yeah.